Picture this. You're sitting across from a divorce attorney, and she asks you a simple question. When did you know? And you can't answer. Because it wasn't in a single moment. There wasn't an affair. There wasn't a blow up. There was just erosion. Years of fine somehow became unfixable. What if I told you there's a number, a literal ratio that could have predicted this years before you even felt it? Stay with me. Hey friend, I'm Dr. Dusumo. Welcome back to the School of Wife channel. Before we dive in, if you're new here, this is a space for highly successful women who refuse to believe that professional success means personal sacrifice of their marriage especially. We talk strategy, we talk science, and we talk real life. Today's episode is going to challenge something you probably believe about your marriage. I need you to hear me out because this singular concept has probably done more damage to good relationships than almost anything else I can think of. We're talking about the 5-to-1 ratio. The 5-to-1 ratio. And no, it isn't about some idealistic marriage formula that you get from a self-help book. That's not what we're talking about. This actually comes from over 40 years of research with thousands of couples being studied. And one man who got so good at predicting divorce, his accuracy rate became almost uncomfortable. Let's get into it. Now, let's start with the backstory. If you've never heard of him, Dr. John Gottman, you've probably heard the name. He's very popular with his marriage research. But he spent decades studying couples in something that he literally called the love lab. He had cameras, he had heart rate monitors, he had facial coding, the whole thing. It's interesting, right? The study of love in the love lab. And what he discovered, it was kind of unsettling. He would watch a couple have a single 15-minute conversation. That's it. And with that, he could predict with over 90% accuracy whether they'll still be married years later. 90%. And the thing that predicted it wasn't what you'd expect. It wasn't how much they fought, which is what I would have thought. It wasn't whether they held the same values, which is something else I would have thought. It wasn't even whether they said, I love you. It was a particular ratio. So what he found was that in stable, happy marriages, for every one negative interaction, which is like a criticism, a rolling of the eye, a dismissive comment, there were at least 5 positive interactions to balance out that one. So that ratio, 5-to-1. However, in marriages heading towards divorce, that ratio dropped. Sometimes it dropped to 1-to-1. Sometimes the negatives actually outweighed the positives. Now, here's where it gets interesting for us. Gottman wasn't measuring grand romantic gestures. He wasn't counting like how many trips they took for their anniversary or how many expensive gifts they exchanged. He was measuring something he called micro moments, tiny moments. The tiny, almost invisible exchanges between couples, things that would happen, like, let's say, in the kitchen, in the car, in the hallway. Simple things like a warm greeting versus a distracted, hey, a genuine thank you versus silence. A simple touch on the shoulder versus just walking past each other like roommates. These moments are so small. Most of us don't even register them. But you know what? Your marriage is keeping score. Now, let me talk specifically to the woman who found this video. Let me speak with you specifically. You're probably not in a bad marriage. You might even be in a good one. But here's what I've noticed working with highly successful women, like physicians, executives, attorneys, or founders. You are exceptional at intention. And you're often running a deficit when it comes to those little deposits. Let me explain what I mean. You love your husband deeply. You chose him deliberately, right? You're committed. You'd show up for him in a crisis without question. But day to day, when you're running on 4 hours of sleep, when you already solved 1,500 problems before breakfast, when your nervous system is in go mode from 5 a.m., and I've been there, so I know what I'm talking about. It's not that you stopped loving him. You just stopped making these deposits. The warm greeting becomes a functional hi. The appreciation becomes assumed. He knows I appreciate him. Why do I need to say it? The simple touch becomes, when was the last time you actually touched him first? And here's the thing. You don't even notice this because your intention is still there. In your mind, you're a devoted wife. And you are. But marriages don't run on intention. They run, instead, on interaction. And the problem is, when you're depleted, the ratio shifts. It's not because you're a bad partner, but it's because exhaustion makes it enough to just be neutral. And you know what, though? Neutrality isn't a deposit. It's just nothing. Meanwhile, that one sharp comment you made because you were tired, that's not nothing. That is a withdrawal. And if there aren't enough deposits to absorb the withdrawal, you see where I'm going? Let me make this uncomfortable. Let me make this very specific. You come home, it's been a day, one of those days. That kind of day where you've held it together for everyone else. And now you have nothing left. Let's imagine he's in the kitchen. You notice the trash is full. It was full this morning before you left for work. And your brain? You're tired, overstimulated, completely reasonable brain. It does what brains do under stress. It scans for threat. Why do I have to notice everything? Does he not see it? If I don't say something, it will never get done. That's what you're thinking. And then what comes out of your mouth isn't a request anymore. It's a verdict. Seriously? The trash? Or maybe it's not even words. Maybe it's the exhale. The look. The energy shift that says, I'm disappointed in you. Without a single syllable being uttered. Now, was that moment the problem? No. The trash is annoying. Your frustration is valid. But here's the question. What was the ratio before that moment? If the last 24 hours were filled with warm connection, if he felt appreciated prior to this, if you've had 5 positive micro moments already, that trash comment lands soft. It's just a blip. But if the last 24 hours were mostly silence, parallel scrolling, both of you on the couch scrolling on your phones, or it was just about logistics or exhausted coexistence, then that one trash comment lands like a brick. Not because the comment was that bad, but because there was no buffer. And now he's defensive. You're frustrated that he's defensive. And suddenly, you're having a fight about the trash. That's not really about the trash. Sound familiar? Here's what I want you to understand. Your marriage probably doesn't have a love problem. It has a ratio problem. And the fix isn't more romance, It isn't date nights, It isn't some big conversation about reconnecting. The fix is almost embarrassingly simple. It's so simple that your brain might probably resist it because it seems too easy. But the research is clear. Small, consistent, positive interactions build a buffer that protects your marriage from the inevitable negatives. We're not trying to be perfect here. We're just trying to build a cushion, a buffer. And you can start doing that in literally 30 seconds a day. 30 seconds a day. So, here's your prescription And yes, I'm framing it that way deliberately because you don't need inspiration, you need implementation. Now that you have the knowledge, go do something about it. For the next 7 days, I want you to make what I call 3 tiny deposits every day. Deposit one, example, the warm arrival. That just takes 10 seconds. When you see your partner for the first time each day, whether it's first thing in the morning or when you get home in the evening, stop. Look at them and say something warm. Hello, babe. Good to see you. Hi, love. There you are. That's it. 10 seconds. But here's the key. You can't be doing it while you're multitasking. You can't be looking at your phone when you say hello. You have to actually be present. Let your nervous system register. I'm home. This person matters to me. I'm going to show that to them for 10 seconds. Now, deposit two, the specific appreciation. That's also 10 seconds, once a day. Tell them something you noticed, something really small, something really specific. I don't want you saying, thank you for everything you do. That's nice, but it's too vague. Try something like this. Thank you for handling the kids this morning so I could get ready on time. I noticed you cleaned up the kitchen. That meant a lot. I appreciate how patient you were with me last night when I was stressed. Specificity is the difference between a nicety and a heartfelt experience. So when you're specific, he knows you're paying attention to the things that he does. And being seen is one of the deepest human needs. Now, deposit number 3. I'll call this the micro bid. It's also 10 seconds. So once a day, make a small bid for connection. So I'm not talking about scheduling quality time. It's just about reaching out for 2 minutes of presence. Something like, hey, come sit with me for a sec. What are you watching? Catch me up. What's been happening? I would love it if you walked me to the car. Those are tiny and they're easy, right? And you know what it communicates? I want to be near you. Not because we have to discuss logistics, but because I like you. 30 seconds total. 3 deposits. 7 days. Now, that's the experiment. And here's what I've seen happen. By day 3 or 4, the energy starts to shift. And it's not because you've solved anything, but because you started filling the bank back up. You started filling up the tank, the love tank. Listen, if you're watching this, you're probably a woman who's used to performing at a very high level. You're used to doing everything well. And part of you might be thinking, I shouldn't have to manage my marriage like this. It shouldn't be so much work. It should just work. I hear you. But you want to hear the truth? Everything that you're excellent at required strategy and it required hard work. Your career didn't happen by accident. Your education didn't happen by accident. Your ability to lead, to diagnose, to perform under pressure, that was learned. It took practice. It was built. So why do you think your marriage will be any different? My friends, love is not enough. It's the foundation though, but it's not the structure. And the 5-1 ratio, that's just maintenance. It's the regular deposits that keep the account from being overdrawn. So you're not fixing something that's broken. You're protecting something precious. Very precious. So try the 3 tiny deposits for 7 days. And if something shifts, let me know. If something shifts, come back and tell us all about it in the comments or DM me. If this episode helped you see something differently, share it with a friend who's doing everything and still feeling disconnected in their marriage. I'm Dr. Desumo, and this is the School of Wife.